Likkutei Torah, Parshat Naso, page 52, second column, Eis Daled. Class is sponsored by Avram Aradi for the Refuah Shlema for everybody. Everybody can use a Refuah Shlema. Physically, mentally, everybody needs. And everybody should have a Refuah Shlema. Okay, we started Daled a few lines, but we'll start again from Daled. Okay, so he says, he's connecting Birkat Hamazon to the Yivarecha Hashem Yishmerecha Yoyer Hashem Panav Elecha. So he says, Yivarecha Hashem is Aveda bringing down Elokus, the Yishmerecha, but it needs to be protected because sometimes Kedusha comes down, then evil can nourish itself from it. So you have to be guarded. And then the second part is Yoyer Hashem Panav Elecha, that's the Gilu Milmailom. And then it goes, Vichunekot should be in a level of chaniya, of resting amongst you. That means basically camping amongst you. It should come down all the way down into gashmistic things like he says, agriculture, time, place, liars, thieves, swindlers, and all that. So he says like this. And that's the Birkat Hamazon, what's benching, bringing down Baruch Atah 3 times in the 4th bracha rabbinic, because we're bringing down this highest level of Elokus into the lowest of levels. But biblically, when are you able to accomplish that? When you're full. Bread feeds the person's heart. Through bread a person is able to live. He in Echlel is B'Kedusha. Then, when you eat L'Shem Shemayim, the Chayef that's in the food becomes up into Kedusha, B'Salas HaNefesh, when you elevate the soul. B'Skalus, B'Chinas Gilei Erntzah Baruch, and becoming united with the revelation of Elokus, Hashem is Gala B'Chochmah K'Yachma, that becomes connected to the level of Chochmah, which is Bittul, V'Shah Chayes Yeshri B'Kedusha. Because in the chayas of the, like we learned in the other Maimorim, the sparks, remember the Alter Rebbe asked in the other Maimon, how is it possible that a person could sustain themselves from something lower? A person is higher than an animal or a plant, so how do we sustain ourselves from that? So the answer is because it fell down lower, it comes from a higher place. It comes to the world of tail, and therefore when you eat it, you elevate it, so then you're able to get chayas from something higher than you. He says, when you elevate the food, it's a much greater power of Kedusha from a Meitzah Hashem M'Shemakar Achai. Okay, that's when you're full, then you're able to accomplish everything benching is supposed to accomplish. The person doesn't eat to be full, he only ate a kazayas, so therefore he's not full. He only had a little bit of chayas. There's only a limited amount of chayis, and koyach b'chayis that this chayis doesn't have the ability. She'ein b'alamiyat kedusha l'sala skal b'chinas chochma shemiz gala b'nefesh. It doesn't have the ability to accomplish in the level of chochma or l'zbar min to be refined from noiga completely, or z'achalol l'sachid b'kedusha, to become one with kedusha. Meaning like this. When you eat full, you get full, so then there's a lot of kedusha in the food that you ate. So that has the ability to elevate you to a higher level and then bring down the food, down the kedusha down here. If you only eat a little bit, it's not enough kedusha, it's not enough holiness in the limited amount of food you ate to accomplish this mission. That's why biblically you can't do it. So that's
for less than kazayas.
No, less than kazayas, you can't even make a bracha. But the kazayas, it's an interesting thing. Like by Yom Kippur, the shir is kriseves, which is bigger than a kazayas. So even a kazayas, let's see, you get a little full, but like the Rabbi brings on the other, it's a very interesting thing. Egg was a giant. Obviously, he needs. Yet, if he ate a kazayas or kriseves on Yom Kippur, he'd be chayiv if he'd be Jewish. He would be chayiv. Now, obviously, it fills Oig Melech HaBashan less than it fills us. So why is he chayiv if he eats that amount, and we are chayiv for that amount? So the Rebbe explains, the shir of the Chachamim fills you. Oig more, us less, but it fills, no matter who it is. It's a very interesting halachic thing that Rabbi explained. Anyway, so he said, what?
If you ate tzviya, this is like encouraging you to overeat. Like if you don't overeat,
he didn't say to fress.
Tzviya.
He said that you're full.
I'm
you're full.
So he says that's a small accomplishment.
Adam,
not good enough.
Adam eichel l'seva nafshi.
Yeah,
a person eats.
It's not good enough.
It's not. No, that's not what he's saying.
That's what
if you're full, you bring down all the kedusha. If you only eat a kezayis, you only bring a little bit of kedusha.
They're not saying to stuff yourself.
Just the most you can bring.
There's a difference between, to use modern language, stuffing yourself. There's a difference between eating and fressing. Eating, you eat to fill you up. Okay? Tzaddik eichel l'seva nafshi. Tzaddik eats to get full.
That's exactly what he's saying is not enough.
What?
He says that's not enough.
That's not what he says. Read.
A little bit.
No. When you eat and you're full, that's a lot of kedusha, and therefore you can bring down the kedusha. When you only eat a kezayis, then you can't. What?
Does Rambam say that you should get up from the table before you get full?
Completely full. The Rambam says stuffed. You don't eat until you're stuffed. Stuffed eating, in Moshe by Yom Kippur, there's a din. Achila gasa, coarse eating. If somebody, let's say, right before Yom Kippur eats until here, and then at Yom Kippur, he starts stuffing himself. Halachically, that's not called eating on Yom Kippur. Rabbinically, you're not allowed. Achila gasa in Yom Kippur is not chayiv. Why? It's not called eating. It's called stuffing, fressing. Eating, you eat and you get full. So the Rambam writes, when you're almost full, you know what I mean? Then that's enough. But that's enough to benchman at Torah. You're full. You could be full and you could be full. Then there's the famous Gemara in Megillah and different places. The Gemara tells a story that Rabbi was involved in the story. Remember the other one? He went somewhere and he ate half a cow, and then he ate another thing, and he came to somebody else and they gave him like a sweet dessert, and he was still able to eat it. So they asked him, how can you eat? So he said, there's an expression in Gemara, Ravche lepsuma shchiach. There's always room in the stomach for sweet food.
That's right.
You're not stuffed, but you can always have this ice cream. You know what I mean? There's always room in the stomach for sweet food. Oh, whatever. But here the Rebbe is saying, so when you eat full, in other words, then you lechem levav enish yisod, you became full. So then you had enough food to bring down the kedusha completely through the benching. If you have a kezayis, so you're not full, so then the issue is you don't have that much food, obviously that much kedusha, so you can't do it. That's where the last pasuk comes from. Meaning, Yisa Yagbil L'mayla Panav. Hashem will elevate B'chinas Gili Hashpa, which is called Panim of B'chinas Acharayim, because Gilui is what's called face, and concealment is called backside. You throw it over the shoulders. Command the Shadabasik Hanoshi Agbil L'mayla Min Hashtaush. What should Hashem do? We're saying Yisa Hashem Panav Eilecha. We're saying Hashem should elevate you to a level higher than world, where it really amount doesn't matter, because in that level, the highest and the lowest are all the same. To a level of elokus, that Shemaim and Ard, when Hashem looks down, heaven and earth are both equal, and Ba'ad Shemaim Ruchni is the Gashmi Shavan Lefanav. And that point, Gashmi Tznuch, remember we learned a million times, there's a level of elokus which is so above everything, the Gashmi Tznuch is all the same, physical, spiritual is all the same, finite and infinite is all the same. So what happens is, when a person, and this is the greatness of the Jews, The Jews want to say a bracha even on a little bit amount. But how could they? Bracha means to bring down Elokus. It doesn't have the ability to bring down this amount of Elokus. So that's what the third pasuk says. Yisa Hashem panav elecha. Hashem will elevate you to a level higher than world, where little bit and a lot of bit, is the same thing.
Is there any difference with this with the kazayas of mizonos, because then you don't do the whole benching, versus, or even a kazayas of bread?
No, kazayas of bread, kazayas of an apple, kazayas of an anything. Biblically, if somebody ate a whole apple, there's no bracha before and there's no bracha after. Biblically. Chacham said you say a bracha before and you say a bracha after. That means even, but not four brachas. In other, we learned when you're full and you bench, so then the four brachas bring down all this level of elokus in all levels. When you make a rabbinic after bracha, whether it's alamichi or bein nefashos, it's only one bracha. Alamichi is 3 into 1. Three in one bracha. Bein nefashos is only one bracha. But it's still, even alamichi is one bracha. Because even then, you don't have the ability to bring down the 4 levels of elokus. Really, biblically, you can't bring down anything. Because you didn't get full. Chachamim came along and said, okay, we're going to tell you to make a bracha because Yisa Hashem panav elecha, Hashem will elevate you to such an extent that little bit is a lot. But nevertheless, you can only make one bracha. You can't make 4 brachas. If somebody ate a kazayas of cake or a kazayas of an apple and they bench, all they did were brachas in vain.
This is saying that even if you eat a kazayat of lechem,
You also,
it's still not the same as a meal of lechem.
Correct. That's exactly what he's saying. Because the fact that you're eating less food means there's less kedusha in the food to be able to be mamshech, bring down that level of elokus.
Even though you're doing four
Correct.
brachas, it's
Correct.
still-
Correct.
So
What?
are equal to benching Birkat Amazon because of Yisa Hashem parallel.
No, so even by bread at kazayas, right? The Gemara is primarily speaking about bread. Biblically, you bench when you're full. Rabbinically, even on a kazayas of bread. So he's saying because it doesn't have the ability to. So really, biblically, you can't do any bracha. You can't bring anything down. But here, Yis Hashem Panav Hashem gives you the pneumius in such a way that you can bring it down even that much. Not as much as benching, but
What about if you just have a little piece of bread? I mean, after bracha, you say bracha and then you
a tiny piece of bread,
tiny little piece of bread.
you don't bench.
But then you get food and satisfied with your food.
So that's another din shchunach. If somebody washed and they ate less than a kazayas of bread, let's say they go to a wedding, okay, and they washed and they were by mitzvah or whatever, and then you eat a little piece of bread, and you didn't eat enough to bench of bread, but you got full from everything else, so then shchunach says you have to bench anyway. Yeah, because you're full from the other food.
Yeah. Well, what about the actual...
What's that? But if you're not full, then you're not allowed to bench.
Right. Well, one piece of apple, just you would say
If you eat a kazayas of an apple, you do.
after kazayas, then you say bracha.
Yeah. Less than a kazayas, the way the Alter Rebbe is explaining this whole thing, if you eat less than a kazayas, which is an ounce of any food, you can't make an after bracha because it's not enough of kedusha in it because it's minimal to be able to bring down that level of kedusha. So biblically, from Hashem's, so to speak, and this is where Hashem finds favoritism in the Jews. They want to bring down even a level of kedusha, even on less food. They still want to bring down kedusha. What?
If you eat a little bit of bread and a little bit of food, it's in the fashon or
If you eat a half a kazayas of cake and half a kazayas of an apple, so you eat a half an ounce of cake, half an ounce, we're not learning halacha now, but you eat a half an ounce of cake, a half an ounce of apple, So you have an ounce altogether, but it's different after brachas. So you make the lesser one. You make a bari nefashos. If somebody had a half an ounce of bread, half an ounce of cake, then you make ala mechya.
Does this mean that there's no kedusha for the things that we drink or eat?
There is kedusha, but not enough.
Yeah, I understand, but there are some things that are supposed to say bracha.
Okay. Now that we're off topic, let me ask you a question. There's a din that you're not allowed to eat chazer. You're not allowed to eat pig, yeah? Treif. How much pig do you eat to get whipped lashes? You need a kazayas. Okay? What happens if somebody eats half a kazayas of chazer? Yeah, of chazer.
No blessing.
No blessing. Correct? Not before, not after.
No milk.
Okay, you don't get malchus. Correct? Yes? Is it biblically forbidden or rabbinically forbidden? So there's a machlekes, famous argument between Rabbi and Shlakish. Chatzi shir asim min atera, mutter min atera. Everybody else is rabbinically forbidden. But Rabbi Yechanan says chatzi shir asim min atera. It's biblically forbidden to eat even a half an ounce of pig. You can get lashes because you didn't eat enough, but it's still biblically forbidden. Anytime. Any sin. Any. Yom Kippur, the argument is by Yom Kippur, but it's all over Torah. Now, got it? Okay. Now, what happens if somebody has only, and basically, they only have a half a kazayis of matzah? That's all they have. Yes? You need a kazayis to be to the mitzvah. Now, this half a kazayis, can you make a bracha? Al achilas matzah? That's all you have. No, you can't. You're not fulfilling the mitzvah.
The bracha is for eating the matzah.
If somebody doesn't have tefillin, they make a bracha on tefillin, that's all they have. They don't have tefillin.
How much you should make?
I'm talking about al achilas matzah.
You're not doing the mitzvah, so you shouldn't.
Okay, so now the question is, is it worth eating that or is this worthless? In other words, you say chatzi shir by a mitzvah also. Just like by a Veda, half the amount is sin, but you don't get malchus because you didn't do it properly. How does it work by a mitzvah? The whole thing with Rogachev, the whole discussion.
You didn't have to stop.
No, you don't. You don't.
Nothing.
If a guy goes into mikveh with 39 saw instead of 40 saw, they're half pure, half bread. What do they call it?
It's better than no water.
No, it's absolutely worthless.
You're not 99% pure either.
You're not nothing pure. Zero pure. And if you walk into the base of English, then you get killed. You eat truma like that, you get killed. You do. Here the Alter Rebbe is explaining, there's a certain amount of food because of the sparks of teil that are in the food, right? That when you eat them, so then that's enough to bring down the kedusha of benching in the 4 brachas. If you eat less than being full, it doesn't have the ability to bring down that level of kedusha. Correct? Nevertheless, the Chachamim accomplished that you can make an after bracha, which is one bracha, because they say Yisa Hashem Banu Hashem should elevate you to such a state that the big and small are both equal. So even then you could bring down Elokus. If a person makes the bracha properly, they bring down Elokus. If a person makes the bracha improperly, it's called the bracha levatol. It's a sin.
I'm drinking water, but I'm not thirsty. I'm not bringing any kedusha down because I'm not saying any bracha.
Right. By the way, in according to Chassidus, so if you eat half a kazayis of chazer, you don't get malchus. You eat a whole kazayis of chazer, you do get malchus. So which one's better? Because malchus gets you forgiven. Now, I'm not saying you should eat more. But there's a concept that a whole kazayis, at least you get punished, you get cleansed. A half a kazayis, you don't get cleansed. Huh? Right, but and you don't have the opportunity to get cleansed. Today is no difference anyway. We don't have Malchus anyway. Okay. Huh? It's like, what's worse? Eating an apple and finding a half a worm or a whole worm? A half a worm is worse because that means you ate the other half. Also no good. Because it's not enough Kedusha to be... That's the whole concept. Come on, we're learning Chassidus. The concept of a bracha is Baruch Ata, they're bringing it down, Baruch Hamshachav Ata, the essence Hashem, into Melech HaOlam, and whatever. So, in order to accomplish that, you have to do something.
That's the whole reason for eating, correct?
Yes.
Rabbi,
The purpose of eating is not to enjoy the food. I mean, you can enjoy it, I'm not talking about that. The purpose of eating is to elevate the sparks of Kedusha therein. And that's why, we learned many times, it says in many Svarim, including Chassidus, that why did Hashem make such a taiva for people to eat food? Why a person, when people always into food, yeah? Because if they wouldn't have this taiva for food, they wouldn't elevate all the sparks. If you wouldn't be hungry, you wouldn't eat. If you wouldn't eat, you're not going to, how is elevating all those sparks? So Hashem makes a person hungry that he should want to eat. Why? Like it says, Tzaddik eichel l'seiva nafshi, for the nefesh to become full.
The Jew that's hungry and eats and doesn't say a bracha, it's absolutely a worthless thing, right?
Can't say it's worthless if he gets healthy, if he's healthy from it, then he goes to learn in daven. No, it's not an issue. Did the guy do a biblical sin? Not really. Brach Samid Rabban.
But he didn't drink any Kedusha.
No.
Rabbi, he's saying requires a certain amount. He has a certain amount of Kedusha.
Right.
Bracha Rishona doesn't mean a certain amount of Kedusha.
It's a different level of bringing down Kedusha.
It's automatic. So you give it any amount.
Any amount, you have to make a bracha rishena.
No, I'm saying Kedusha-wise. Any amount of Kedusha is good enough for bracha.
For bracha rishena, you bring down a level of Kedusha for bracha rishena, not bracha achrena.
Oh, so you're saying one is higher.
It's a different level of Kedusha. There's first bracha, there's after bracha. It's two different things. Oh my God. Okay. And this hashpah should be a lacha koimish yom shechel lacha begili hamshacha. Bashpah bechin shemal minishtaushes, which is the level of Yisa Hashem. So what are you saying? Yisa Hashem ponov elecha. From this level comes down. Shaydei ze yuluk to le'echad echad. Then you're able to gather all the sparks. Hamufuzon of anidochim that are spread around all over the place. Afilim yesh b'hem chayis kedusha koshu. Mat mizeh. Even if there's only a little bit of kedusha in it, because there's a small amount of food, so there's a minimal amount of kedusha. Nevertheless, yochlo v'yisach b'kedusha yena marker achayim kedusha shebetachteinim. It's going to bring down this level of kedusha. You're going to gather all the sparks, even though they're little bit, as they say, yidel by yidel. You know, they're going to gather them all together. Now the question is, on top of the page of Chazayin, how do you get this hashpah above ishtalshalus? That's what it says. V'yosim l'chos sholim. Then it continue. V'yosim l'chos sholim. Sholim. What is sholim? Connecting two things together. Skabras shnei hafoch. Like it's a sholim b'meimov. Hainai de bitulim l'bchina shilim ayil ma'il mishneim. That is mechaberes keneda. So he says like this: how is it possible to bring down kedusha into a level of kedusha that really is not enough to have the kedusha, because it's small. So kedayis only, it's not full. He says that's what Hashem does. Hashem connects higher than ishtalshlus and ishtalshlus, that even a small amount is like a big amount. What? He's saying that Eisa Shalom B'Mreimav, what does it mean? Eisa Shalom B'Mreimav means, besides the song, Eisa Shalom B'mreima means Hashem makes peace up on high. Eisa Shalom B'mreima, the one God who makes peace on high. Yasa Shalom Aleinu should make peace on us. V'al Yisrael. So what's the peace? Who's fighting up there? So the Gemara and the Medrash says, there's a fight up there. Michal is the malach of chesed of water, and Gabriel is the malach of fire, which is Gevurah. And Mayim and Eisha, two opposites. So seemingly Gabriel, Michal should be having a bloody fight, not even when they're siblings, but when they're angels. And yet nevertheless, Hashem makes peace. How does Hashem make peace between Gabriel and Michal? So you have the same issue. You have the head and the heart, two contrasting different types of this. This is cold and this is warm. How does heart and head, one's emotional, one's intellectual, one's cold, how do you make peace? When the head is bottled to the cause, and the heart is bottled to the cause. When Michal is bottled to Kedusha, and Hashem is in Gabriel is bottled to Kedusha, so because they don't feel themselves, they feel the cause. And for the cause, this is what needs to be done. And this is what this guy needs to be done, so that's the peace. If Gabriel would be lacking bittul, and Michal would be lacking bittul, they would be killing each other up there. The reason why how does Hashem make peace between Gabriel and Michal? Because they're both bottled to the cause. The head and the heart are both caught. Or in music, you have a symphony with so many. You have contrasting instruments and contrasting art, and yet when you blend together in harmony, because then you bottle to the cause rather than into yourself. Like in sports, the only way, like the guy said, when the name on the front is equal to the name on the back, which is your own name, is bottled to the name on the front, meaning the team, so then you will stop forcing you to exit.
But is it the languages and we speak different languages?
Who?
I mean, the ages, one is in the spiritual realm and one is a totally different meaning.
Who?
I'm talking about the Malachim.
Gabriel and Michal on the same level. So one's,
and one is more practical.
yeah, it's two different levels.
No,
But-
two different realms. They cannot possibly even communicate with each other.
And the head and the heart communicate?
I'm wondering.
You're wondering. Okay, just keep wondering.
What do you think?
I don't think. I don't suggest